Hey everyone, welcome back. This is season 6 of Hope TV. This is actually the second season of Decoding Wealth. I'm extremely excited about this season's lineup of topics and hosts that we have. Of course, this show is all about bringing you different topics or tips to help you with various financial and wealth strategies to help you both personally and professionally. We're going to continue to talk about those type of topics during this season, but to start this season off, I want to go in a different direction. A couple years ago, when COVID caught all of us by surprise, unfortunately, a lot of businesses went under. I think a big reason for that was the inability to be able to adjust from a technology standpoint to be able to still reach their audience and clientele. So today, I want to talk about some helpful ways for businesses and business owners to be able to still be productive during the pandemic. Today, I have a familiar face as my guest. She actually ended the season with me last season for Decoding Wealth. So I want to bring her back because I think that she would be very beneficial, when we're talking about this topic for two reasons. One, because she has her own business and she was able to successfully adapt and still be productive, but she also played a major role in helping other businesses to be able to adjust and still be productive as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Miss Mia Martin.
Thank you for having me today, Daniel. I'm very excited to be here. And as you know, the pandemic caught us all off guard and by
Absolutely.
storm. But one thing that I'm very grateful for is that I have amazing clients and I was able to help a lot of entrepreneurs really weather that storm just based on the knowledge that I've had as an entrepreneur, the skills that I've learned and gained over this time frame. So I'm excited to be here
Right.
and I just can't wait to share more about how to survive the pandemic from a business perspective.
Right, right. And I knew you would be the perfect person for this topic. So I know you have your hands in a lot of different things. I know, of course, you own your own marketing business as well as you are the CMO of a insurance and financial services brokerage firm. So if you will, just talk briefly about your role for both of those different businesses.
Absolutely. So, with my marketing agency, we primarily service consultants as well as the solopreneurs that are out there. So, the
Right,
one man band or a one
right,
man band. And we're really there to help them make a digital footprint as well as an offline footprint from a marketing perspective and targeted ad strategy perspective. So, we're doing everything from the websites to email and social media marketing, marketing strategy, as well as overall business strategy to help them scale their companies as entrepreneurs. So I had met the CEO of GAMSG some time ago,
right.
um, at the same time that I met you
Yeah,
in Atlanta at the Commerce Club downtown. And we all got to know each other over the years and through networking and just a lot of time at the club working with other entrepreneurs. The CEO decided to bring me in as a fractional executive or fractional CMO, and that role turned into full time while I was running my agency. Because what we basically did was designed a strategy to take EMG 100% digital during the pandemic. So we'll get into a little bit more about how things changed.
right.
And you were there, so you
Yeah,
know what
for
all we
sure.
had
Yeah.
to do to weather that storm. But I'm grateful for the opportunity and learned a lot along the way, as well as more about the insurance business myself and being a licensed broker too. So overall, even though it shook things up, it was a
Right.
great experience.
Okay.
So when I came in and you think about the way things used to be and these meetings that we used to have from morning to night with all these different clients in person,
Yeah.
how did that impact you when that changed?
Well, a lot changed because, with being in this business, I feel like it's all about relationships. And so when you take away the in-person element of that, to me, I had to find a way to still connect with my clients and my audience while still building that relationship. Of course, we had to figure out a way to do that, but that was definitely the toughest thing about that. I mean, of course, you have to figure out a way to make sure that you are able to meet that audience virtually, whether it's via Zoom or some of the other platforms. But it really made me do my research and figure out, okay, how can I still add that personal touch, still build that relationship, but in a virtual manner. So it was extremely tough. You touched on a good point, and I actually want to go back so to set the context for this particular topic. So um, talk to me a little bit about, pre-COVID, what was your day-to-day like? Because I know you personally, of course, I follow you on social media. I know that you do a lot of things in the community, whether it be, hosting events or attending events. So pre-COVID, what was your day-to-day or week-to-week life running those particular businesses?
Pretty much meetings all
Yeah.
day, meetings and events. So if I wasn't at a private business club like the Commerce or the Buckhead Club, or one of the shared office spaces like an Industrious or WeWork, meeting with a client, then I
Right.
was speaking at a workshop, a seminar,
Yeah.
being a keynote speaker, or at an event. So it immediately changed my lifestyle because I would be on the road no later than 7 o'clock, and most of the time I wasn't coming home until about 8. So it was a
Wow.
pretty long day, and by the end of the day, I may have engaged with 25 to a couple hundred
Easily.
people
Yeah.
easily. And I know you remember that.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about the change, just having that complete kind of disconnect from
Yeah.
being around so many people daily and just engaging and having to shift gears? How did that impact you?
Yeah, well, initially, I think like everyone else, I didn't like it. I'll be honest, just because, again, I really do like building those relationships, but um, it challenged me in a lot of ways. And so I've even talked with a lot of other agents that are older, and by switching or having to switch to that virtual model, which I'll talk about a little bit more, as we go on with this conversation. But a lot of those agents that were used to that in-person meeting with the client every day or every month, they end up getting out of the business just because, one, they could not adjust, and then two, they just really didn't want to. They just felt like it was a lot to have to make that adjustment. And you also said too about having to make an immediate adjustment. What are some of the immediate things that you had to do once COVID-19 hit all of us? When we had to go to wearing the mask, everything shut down. What are some of the immediate things that you had to change?
I immediately had to develop a strategy and a budget for how I was going to reinvest back into my business. And there's a significant difference between having business expenses, right?
Yeah.
So your stationery or office supplies, those are expenses. But when you think about reinvesting back into your business, those are the things that are going to help you win and scale. So
That's key.
software.
Yeah.
I know we all had to start using Zoom more
Yeah.
to meet with our clients and to have meetings.
Yeah.
Other types of appointment booking tools, right?
Yeah.
Like a Calendly. Calendly was a lifesaver for many
Yeah.
small businesses
Yeah.
because it made appointment booking so much more fluid. So really the overall piece was strategy, not only for my own agency, but for my clients, software, also automation, so and delegation. So what could you actually take when you took a look at your whole strategy and a list of everything that you had to get done that you could push out and give someone else the opportunity to not only make money but support your business and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
potentially grow their own as an independent consultant and business owner? And then also, what could you automate, right? So what could you do to streamline the flow around how you conduct business? So maybe it's a process as simple as automated emails when someone submits a form on your website, or maybe it's some type of autoresponder that's set up in any type of online process that you're working with. These are just all ways to streamline the business so that you can service more people. So
Yeah.
automation, delegation, strategy, reinvesting back in the business, software, those were all really big things for myself as well as a lot of my clients.
Y'all didn't know the answer to this, but John P. Key is your name, but what does the P stand for?
The P actually stands for Prince. Dr. Scott and Brian Scott, years ago when I signed my first deal, they ran with it and started the Prince of Gospel, but that's where it came from. Lizzie and John named me John Prince Key.
each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look.
We've got a great topic, a serious topic that a lot of us don't talk about. So today we're talking about coping with infant loss.
Because of this process, I am an advocate for counseling, therapy, family, go get your healing. And a lot of times, in the African American community, it's becoming more popular. But I was like, this has never happened to me before. I'm going to try something new.
I'll say this, if you are a woman who is trying again after a loss, it's important that you find a provider that you're really comfortable with. And also, as Tiffany said, coupled with therapy is really going to be key in getting you through your next pregnancy.
I know you deal with a lot of clients, so I try to find in everything I do in life, if I can, to find the pros or something that I can take positive from that particular situation. COVID impacted all of us one way or another in a negative way, whether it be personal or professional. So whether it's you personally or some of the clients that you've worked with, what do you think are some of the pros or advantages that people have taken away from how COVID impacted all of us?
The perception of time management.
Okay.
And recognizing that not every meeting needs to be in person.
Yeah.
Not every meeting needs to be a meeting. It may just need to be an email or a quick phone call, right? Also, delegate or allocation of that time, right? So maybe spending your time more wisely. That year that the pandemic hit was the best year for my marketing agency ever, because I think people finally had the time to sit down and evaluate who they really were as professionals, what they were passionate about. You've seen a lot of people shifting careers, opening up businesses, maybe having side businesses. So at that point in time, they knew they couldn't go anywhere in person. So they needed to get their brand out online. So I was glad and blessed to be there to support them in developing those brands and really getting their company messages out there, using the right budget, using the right platform, and helping them maximize their dollars so they could really get the word out about their business and stay afloat. It was a scary time for a lot of people.
And of course, on the flip side of that, talking about some of the cons or the disadvantages, because of course there are, ironically enough, I guess some positives that people were able to take from COVID. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the negatives, some of the disadvantages of having to adjust, or some of the things that may have impacted certain businesses in a negative way, whether that be some of the clients you dealt with or for you personally.
I think for those who are less tech savvy and not as open-minded to it, it hurt them initially if they didn't come around. So anyone that owned a business that didn't understand the importance of understanding the technology that you're using, how to implement it, so that if you're being charged for this technology, you understand what you really should be being charged, so it doesn't take too much out of your budget. Also, just being able to use it yourself as necessary. I think that was probably a negative piece for people, because they felt forced into technology and they may not have traditionally been in a role that required them to do that. Another negative piece, I think, was burnout, because there was no cutoff time. It was, hey, dinner's at 3 a.m. Wake up whenever, work all day, work all night. And I think people didn't know what to expect and just burnt themselves out. So I would say that would be a negative part from a business perspective.
And going back to the agent that I referred to earlier in our conversation, that was one of the biggest disadvantages for him, is that he put it as simply as you did. I felt forced into having to change from a technology standpoint. And you have to think, this is a seasoned agent in insurance and financial services of 30 plus years. And so when you have really built the foundation of running your business a certain way for that long, as you can imagine, it would be hard for anyone to have to make that adjustment. And he had to have some crucial conversations, not only with himself, but the people around him in terms of if he could continue to do it, or even if he had it in him to make the necessary adjustments to keep the business going. Because, you know, it's funny to think that even in today's time, he was still used to having clients to mail checks and different things like, and it's nothing wrong with that because that was his model. But even something as simple of, you know, educating his clients or his agency on how to take, you know, electronic payments or electronic signatures, or, you know, actually being comfortable with setting up Zoom. I mean, prior to this, he says that he didn't even know what Zoom was. So, you know, it was a huge negative for him. And unfortunately, you're talking about, again, someone of 30 plus years having to get out of the business completely because he could not make those adjustments. So even though it was positive for a lot of people, you got to think too, for some of the older generation or older people, it may have impacted a lot of them in a negative way. So, and you know, he's actually was a mentor of mine, and him sharing that with me, you know, it made me see it in a different perspective. Also too, you know, so if we could ever get back to a point to where things are like they were pre-COVID, a lot of people think we won't ever get back to that. You know, me personally, I don't either. You know, I think we may get back to something maybe similar in a way, but 100% of how we were pre-COVID, I don't think we'll ever get back there. But hypothetically speaking, if we were to get back to the point to where there's a comfort to where we can, you know, meet with clients and maybe, you know, not wearing the mask and things like that, with some of the processes or things that you implemented, do you think that those are going to be a part of your business permanently, or do you think that it's just kind of like a temporary solution or a Band-Aid for right now, and then you'll eventually go back?
To your point, I don't know if there'll ever be I don't know if things will ever go back, right?
Right.
This is the new normal.
Yeah.
However, I recognize the true value of my time as an entrepreneur. So I think 90% of what I implemented, I will probably maintain. And I'm glad because it made my business more lean. It made my processes more streamlined.
Yeah.
So even though I would be taking more meetings, the meetings would have to really have a purpose from a business standpoint instead of just maybe networking,
Yeah.
right? I think the way that we approach networking has changed in itself as well.
Absolutely.
It's very important, but just the amount of time that's being put around it. So you spoke about the situation with your mentor and them not wanting to embrace technology. And one thing that what I think about the GAMSG team is that not only did we embrace technology,
Right.
but we also bring different skill sets to the table. We all have different strengths, right? And I think that we did a good job of aligning with people that were strong in different areas too, to help continue to grow and build the business.
Right,
So really
right.
aligning it and not kind of just closing ourselves off, but being open to other entrepreneurs and strategic, knowledgeable people that
Right.
were able to support the organization as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as entrepreneurs. Sometimes you can feel like you're on an island,
Yeah.
right? But you got to remember to reach out to your friends, not
Yeah.
only just to check on them, but also to try to collaborate and
Yeah.
create opportunities. So that's one thing that I'm really proud to have witnessed in being a part of GAMSG. It's just how many people the organization impacted from an entrepreneurial perspective.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, too, for me personally, a lot of the things that I have implemented and changed about my business, it will be a part of, you know, my business model moving forward, even if things get back to how they were. But I think that I want to keep in mind or make sure that it's a healthy balance of the two. Because, you know, like for example, one of the things that I really found to be more efficient is the amount of people that I can meet with via Zoom. So although I really did or do like that face-to-face interaction and building that relationships, but realistically in a day's time, you know, if I'm going to different places to meet with different people, I may on a great day meet with 4 different people, because you have to account for actually going to do the meeting, the windshield time of getting there, getting set up for the next meeting. So 4 meetings is a great day. Whereas I have seen on several accounts, you know, with this Zoom model, I can effectively talk with 8 different clients in a day. And so when you look at from being efficient in you know, productivity standpoint, there can be some good to adapting from a technology standpoint, because you can talk to more clients. Because, you know, in essence, you're either at the office or at home. And again, with being able to talk to them via Zoom, you can get more done. So I definitely think that for the most part, it's going to have to be a healthy balance of the two. And I think everyone will have to do that if they really want their business to be successful.
Absolutely. And when you think about how you would connect in person, I think depending on where you're meeting at, a person may not be as comfortable to open up about their finances and what they may need to support their family versus being at home. And so I do think that's an advantage too of a Zoom situation, because maybe the ones you're meeting in person, you're still having some business conversation, but maybe it's more just networking and getting to know one another first. Whereas with the Zoom, I think when someone's comfortable in their home, they may open up a little bit more about what they really need.
Okay, I keep on saying self-reflection, but it's true. This is what I really think.
How do you recognize what you can do based off of what you want to do?
Come on, being honest with yourself. How can I fit this into my schedule? I think it's really being honest with yourself. And if you're in a hierarchy kind of organization, being honest with the people that manage you and are over you.
But that was one of my favorite moments of this season.
Oh my God.
Look, and Maria's turning red over here.
Right. He just went in on me for real. I'm like, oh my God.
I want to talk to a little bit about, from a marketing perspective, as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, you know, what are some of the ways that, if I'm a business owner, that maybe I can market myself? What are some of the social media platforms or different things that I could do to reach an audience? And the reason I'm asking is because I've talked with people that may be in the financial services industry, insurance, or whatever, and they have a tough time connecting with the audience, because you take the in-person way, the networking events where you can go out and meet new people and identify clients. But now if I'm at home, you know, with different social media outlets and things like that, what are some of the ways that I maybe could reach some clients?
So now that everything has changed, the platforms, the algorithms, everything has changed. I would say every entrepreneur should be on LinkedIn if you are not already. And some people may ask, well, my business is listed on LinkedIn. and I run my business. Why do I really need a LinkedIn profile? I'm not looking for a job.
Yeah.
Well, you're the representative of your company. People actually want to know more about you and
Yeah, right,
behind the scenes,
right.
the mission of the company, who you are, why it got started. Also, your prior experience, if you have prior experience, also lends to your expertise in your ability to run that company.
Yeah.
And then if someone's looking for you for a PR opportunity, it's also a great way to differentiate yourself from the company and the company brand in itself. So every person, I always give this advice, should own their own brand first as
Right.
their name. You can sell your company could go out of business, Lord forbid, anything can happen, but your name is your name.
Right.
So owning your domain, even if you decide not to build a website right away, buy your domain name. Even if you don't use it, it's really not that expensive. I think it's about $20 a year, if I remember correctly. At the very least, buy it so no one else can. The next piece is, if you're going to be on a LinkedIn, make sure that you're sharing information that positions you to be a thought leader or a subject matter expert in your space.
Okay.
Because if you're sharing that information consistently, you're going to stay top of mind with your audience. Most of the opportunities that I get through my network are because of something I posted on LinkedIn, and it reminded that person of me, because most of the time people have several hundred or 1,000 connections.
Yeah.
So if they're not really seeing you, they may not remember.
So staying top of mind,
Staying
basically.
top of mind, yes.
Right.
And then Facebook. Now, I know Facebook, people get a little nervous about it because it's predominantly the folks that you grew up with, went to school and college
Right.
with, your family, your friends. It is okay to let your family and friends know what you do as an expert. It doesn't mean you have to inundate their timeline with a ton of information about your
Yeah.
business or promote
Yeah.
your business all the time.
Yeah.
But whatever I put on my Facebook page, I know that I had family I looked up to, and I want to be someone that my family can look up to as well. So I want them to understand my profession.
Right.
I want them to understand what I do. Now, I've also received really random referrals from a random person I went to high school with, cousin, because they understood what I did.
Yeah.
And you got to make it easy for your family and friends to understand what you do. So a lot of times they may ask, what does so-and-so do? And they're just like, I don't know. I think they sell some insurance or
Right,
something,
right.
right?
They don't really know.
They don't know. So make it easy to understand, make it easy to relate, show the pictures, just like you're here today. Show pictures of what you're doing so that it clicks and people really understand, and they'll come to you for help. They're going to feel comfortable coming to you because you're friends or family. It may
Yeah.
not mean they always want to buy your services at that moment, but at the very least, they're going to come to you for questions. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to use Facebook, LinkedIn. Now, I do use Instagram. I recommend it if that's where your target audience is. But I think now that things are changing, TikTok is a more effective platform than Instagram. I feel like it's just a better way, a more creative way to keep things more authentic.
Right.
So I would say for me, TikTok over Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, consistency is key with that because, you know, of course you want to stay top of mind. You want to continue to market yourself, market your brand in the most positive ways. But at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you're putting the information out there. And again, too, you don't want to have an overload of it to where if someone is following you on social media, every single post is about, you know, something business related. Again, you want to have that healthy balance. But marketing is everything nowadays. And so, you know, if you are a business owner and you want to continue having a successful business moving forward, a marketing strategy, a social media platform or outlet is really has to be a key part of your foundation. Because, you know, you see, and I'm sure you know better than anyone, it's some businesses that have really taken off just based on their marketing alone. You know, that has really separated them from other competitors in that same industry or whatever the case may be. So marketing is everything. And even for me, you know, even though I'm a part of that younger generation, because I do like the face-to-face interactions, I had to really adjust and brand myself from a marketing standpoint even more, making sure that I'm consistently putting that content out because, it's crazy to think that, if you don't brand yourself, sometimes the people closest to you, a family member, aunt, uncle, friend, they may not even really know what all you do. They, like you said, it's like, I think he may be in insurance, but they don't even really know what all that entails. But something as simple as marketing yourself on a consistent basis will help with that. So I want to make sure, I try to always do on these particular episodes, I want to make sure that the audience can leave with some tips or some things that they can maybe write down in bullet point to take away from this. So if we have some business owners that are listening, let's give them, say, 3 different things that they can take away from this to implement within their business to help them be productive, not only in the pandemic, but moving forward and completely adapting from a technology standpoint. So we'll bullet point it out and go into depth about each one. So what's that first thing that you would advise a business owner to do in terms of making that adjustment?
You have to have a business strategy or a plan,
Okay.
because you have to be able to pivot when things change. And revisiting that business strategy and plan on a quarterly basis is really going to help you see if you're staying on track with your goals, if you're exceeding those goals, and where you may need to switch things up.
Yeah.
That plan is also going to include your budget in it. And that budget piece is key, because if you're just bringing money into your business, and maybe you're at the point now where everything's paid off and you're just taking money in, your expenses are low, if you're not investing that back into the business, you cannot scale.
Yeah.
So understanding your budget is going to be vital to your success. So that strategy, that business plan, inclusive of the budget. Also, if you do not necessarily want to hire an agency or a marketing professional to provide marketing services for you, at the very least, invest in a marketing strategy. Because if you have friends that are doing freelance work on the side of their corporate job in marketing positions, or if you have people that they're just really good at marketing, at least you'll have a framework for them to abide by in helping you build the brand of your company and yourself online and offline. So business strategy, marketing strategy. The next piece is thinking about delegation and automation. So for my consultants and my solopreneurs that are out there, you cannot do it all yourself. If you're a small business, even if you're bringing in the funding to hire additional staff, you still need to figure out what you can cut back on and delegate out.
That's key.
Because that's going to cut costs. It's going to cut down duplicative work. It's going to streamline your time and your efforts, and time is money, as we all know.
Right.
So I would say that delegation and automation piece.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think that, a plan, of course, in anything is very key. But I think that having a plan and understanding that, okay, this is how things were pre-COVID, this is how things are now, and then understanding, too, that there's a high probability that things won't go back to 100% the way they were. So what does that plan look like for your business over the next year, the next 5 years, 10 years, and so on and so forth? And so having that plan in place is vital, because you need to know from every angle, whether, how you're going to generate that revenue, the marketing strategy, the whole nine. So that plan is key. Also, too, with the delegation and automation, that's a big factor as well, too, because you want to make sure you understand just the operations of who's doing what within the organization, and where you maybe need to cut back, and maybe where you need to add or implement something different. So those things are key. So let me make sure that I'm following you so that we can keep up with it. Step 1 would be having a plan. 2 was the delegation and automation.
That's the third one.
Okay, so what was 2 again?
So number 1, have your strategy and business plan.
Okay.
Number 2, your marketing plan.
Marketing,
Number
right.
3, delegate and automate.
Got it.
Yes.
So those are definitely things that you want to make sure, those 3 things at a minimum, that you have for your particular businesses. I think that this is a great topic right now, because even though, COVID started about 2 years or so now, it's crazy to think that it's been that long. But all of the things that we dealt with at the beginning of that, we're still dealing with. I think even for me personally, you know, you want to make sure that you're keeping things in perspective and in mind, because even though if I want to, you know, maybe get back into that in-person model, I have a lot of clients that are still not comfortable with that. So you have to make sure that you're keeping those things in consideration, and making sure that you're adjusting, because things are changing. I mean, even, you know, as you know, whether it's going to, you know, the Commerce Club, Buckhead Club, all of the different things that we used to do. I like to play a lot of golf, and so I was going with clients to do that. A lot of those things have changed, so I've had to adjust. This has been great.
Yes,
This has been great. I really appreciate you for giving that insight, and then most importantly, kind of bullet pointing at least 3 things that business owners can do. That's one of the things that I always want to make sure that I'm leaving my audience with as we get ready to end these episodes. So thank you so much for your time. You know,
Thank you for having
for
me.
everyone that's tuned in, you know, continue to look out for different things that we have coming up on next other episodes. I definitely plan to extend this topic, maybe bring on other business owners to give their perspective, so that you can hear that, as well as talk about other topics around wealth and financial strategies. As always, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned, and hope to see you back on the next episode of Decoding Wealth.